What's up, everybody? Do you hate yourselves yet? Do you hate watching Ring movies yet? 'Cause I sure do. Alright, everybody, we've got the sequel to Ringu. That's Spiral. This was the one that was made at the same time as Ringu and was released as a double feature. Now, I think this is probably a pretty good explanation of why you should never, ever do that unless the two teams know what each other are making, because this clearly has nothing to fucking do with with Ringu. I've heard that it's closer to the source material, but if that's the case, then the source material must not be very good. Spiral is a sequel. Nothing about this even feels like the Ring at all. There is a well. There is a different well that Sadako crawls out of. This one's also pretty hard to find. It's not on any of the streaming services like all the other Ring movies are. I had to rent it off YouTube for $4, and I wish I didn't have to do that because it was a waste of time, more or less. And whenever I heard that this was a movie that they kind of made the forgotten sequel, I was like, I wonder if they just did that because they wanted to go in a different direction. But no, sir. There is a reason that this is forgotten. Essentially, it starts with the death of the characters from the first one, and it moves on to our new protagonist, Dr. Ando, who was a friend with the professor from the first one, and does the autopsy on him. And this is arguably the only scene that is scary at all, and it's the first scene in the movie where they do like a crazy autopsy where his rib cage is like shown in full, and they're pulling the things out of his stomach. That's pretty gross, but nothing else about this movie is scary even a little bit. And now I think I feel like I've talked about this before, but it's just a killer videotape. That's what these things should be about. And this is not. This is not that. They abandoned that almost immediately, that if you watch the videotape you get a call, and go into some sort of weird direction with like smallpox. Like if you watch the tape you get smallpox, and they realize, oh no, the tape has nothing to do with it actually. It's all about the journal of the lady from the first one. She wasn't actually trying to stop Sadako. She was actually trying to help her take over the world or something. This movie's like makes no fucking sense, you know? The curse itself is also different. When you watch the tape, Sadako comes out and molests you, and then you get the virus. You get molested by a naked Sadako. You also have Mei, the character that is in the Ring 2 as like the professor's research assistant, and she's a big part of that. She's also a big part of this one, but she just like fucks Dr. Ando, and then she gets the virus. And then not only that, but she now has like a baby Sadako inside of her that is going to take over her body. This movie's fucking nonsense, man. And I don't know if I've reiterated this enough, but it's not scary at all. There's nothing scary about this. They get to the conclusions so fast. Every time they have like an issue, they're like, oh, that probably has something to do with that killer videotape, right? And they're like, yeah, maybe. No, I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? We're not doing that shit anymore. This is different now. This is all different. All of this is different. It's very different. Extremely different. Everything's different in this. To one of the most puzzling conclusions of all, where Dr. Ando's like, all right, I guess I'll help you and let you be reborn, but I want you to resurrect my son. Huh? When did he have a son? At what point did he have a son? And he's like, but don't worry, also resurrect my buddy, the professor, because he wants to help you out. Huh? What? And this whole conclusion is taking place on a beach. It's like, it feels like the most melodramatic thing of all time. They're just on a beach talking about world domination and how Sadako's going to come through and kill everybody, and he's a part of it, and his son's not going to have a good time. What is any of this about? I feel like I was paying attention, and it's still one of the just fucking most ridiculous pieces of shit I've ever seen. And that's coming from someone who just watched 15 Ju-on movies. So, I don't know, man. I think this is forgotten for a reason. I'm going to have to give this one 1 star. I am not into this movie at all. But apparently everyone, there were some people into this movie because it got not only 1, but 2 sequels, 2 canonical sequels that don't have anything to do with the other Ring movies that also have a bunch of their own sequels. And what we got was Sadako 3D, and boy, this thing also doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. It's like, this is apparently based on another one of the books called S, and they're like, yeah, this is what we're doing. We're doing this. And once again, they're like, videotape? Fuck that shit. It's a viral video now. We're doing something completely different. But in this one, we've got like an emo guy, and he's like trying to do the resurrection of S, and S is Sadako, and she's going to take over the world, and we're going to like evolve the human race. And I guess that's what the books are about. I guess this is more what the books are about, but that is baffling to me, because why can't it just be a scary videotape? Why can't it just be that? Why can't it just be that? Now this one is crazy because the CGI is atrocious, and it was shot for like a 3D audience. So like every time like someone falls out a window or something, like the glass shoots out in front of the screen. I wish I had 3D glasses for this. This would have been a good time probably. I actually, if I was a young man in Japan when this came out in like 2009 or whatever the fuck. When did this even come out? I gotta look that up. 2012? This movie came out in 2012 and the CGI looks that bad? What was going on in Japan? But yeah, if I lived in Japan, I definitely would have went to go see this in 3D, and I would have fucking loved it. Because it's fucking ridiculous. This one, at least, is entertaining, unlike Spiral. This one's fucking crazy in all aspects. And honestly, if it wasn't for the CGI, there'd be some cool scares in this, because she's always popping out of computers and phones and stuff. At one point, she pops out of one of those, like, bunch of screens, like, on display outside of some sort of TV store or whatever. And then at one point, she pops out of, like, one of the side of those, those trucks that have the advertisements on them. That's all cool stuff. That's all fun. Just looks like shit. That's the problem. Really, really just looks like shit. And now the only connection I can find that this movie is even a sequel to Spiral is that the main character's boyfriend is the son that was resurrected in Spiral. And what's crazy about this, to me, the main character, Akane, is like a high school teacher, and the boyfriend looks like he is also in high school. So she's just like fucking a high school student, maybe? I don't know. I don't really know how it works. It seems like a very small understanding of how the internet works, because it's like all about 404 errors and shit. And it's like, who even thinks about 404 errors anymore? That's such a archaic thing, even for 2012. Basically, this teacher's students are all dying or something. And she's like, I better investigate this cursed video, this cursed viral video. And the viral video, whenever it finds someone, it says, nope, not you. But when it finds the teacher, it's like, yep, you. So it's trying to find a new host, essentially. Sadako's trying to find a new host so she can come to life and kill everybody, I guess. It's kind of vaguety. It's a little bit of a vaguety movie. And at some point, you find out that Akane is the perfect host because she has telekinesis. We're going back to this shit again. This is like the stuff I had problems with in the Ring trilogy. The other Ring trilogy. I'm like, why do we need to have telekinesis in this shit? I guess that's just a part of it. That we need is the telekinesis in this shit. Eventually they find out about Sadako and they go to the well, and we all know what happens at the well. Shit's gonna crawl out of it. But this is where The only part of this movie that I do find interesting is this last half an hour here when they're fighting the imperfect Sadakos. And the imperfect Sadakos are essentially, every time this emo guy from the viral video threw someone into this well, it would turn into an imperfect Sadako, which is essentially Sadako, but she has spider legs, and there's like a whole bunch of them, and it's actually pretty scary and cool. This is actually probably one of the better sections of the movie, and honestly saved it from being completely unwatchable. And for being shot in 2012, it does feel like a more modern type horror. Like, it has the jump scares, it has the kind of vibe of a shitty mid 2000s for sure, but I guess Japan, it takes a little longer to get through those trends. The problem with this movie is everything just feels so easy. She has telekinesis, so when there's a bunch of spider Sadakos around her, she just uses her telekinesis and they all die. And then she gets wrapped up in the hair of the real Sadako, and her boyfriend smashes the phone, which somehow breaks the curse, but ambiguously, I think she's probably still possessed. I guess we'll find out in the next one. I haven't even watched it yet. I'm recording this without even watching the next one, so I don't know. I'm just making assumptions here. I gotta say, it's just not a very good movie, but at least it's entertaining at times. That's more than I can say for Spiral, so this one's getting 2 stars from me. 2 buckheads. All right, everybody. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one because, simply put, it is garbage. It's garbage. I almost didn't even record this one, but I'm like, I'll throw it in there. I did spend the time watching it. So this one is the sequel to Sadako 3D. As we know, in the last one, there was like the emo guy that was trying to resurrect Sadako through a viral video and throwing women down a well, which turned them into spiders. This one has nothing crazy like that in it at all. It's like it's not fun like Sadako 1. It's just dry and boring for most of the time. So essentially the character Acne and Dr. Ando's son from the Sadako 3D, which is the sequel to Spiral, but it's called 3D, which generally is the third one in America. Whatever. However the order works, that does not matter, is the kid of those 2 characters, and the mother died. I'm doing air quotes. If you're listening on the podcast, I'm doing air quotes right now. Died, and the sister's taking care of Nagi, the little girl, who everyone assumes is the resurrection of Sadako, because every time she's around, something bad happens. She's drawing pictures like a train full of people dying, and then a train full of people dies. All sorts of scary little things. Anytime that someone gets the curse from the video, although in this one it's not really a video, it's kind of just like their phone turns into the Matrix grid. They turn into zombies for some reason. That's never really explained. I guess that's part of the virus thing that they never touch really and never explain at all. Basically the whole time this character Fuko, who's the sister to Akane, is kind of running around and just trying to figure out what's going on, basically. It's not very entertaining. There's a couple cool jump scares, but honestly, this one doesn't have much to it. It's very bleak, monotonous, boring, those kind of adjectives when I'm describing this. There are a couple interesting scenes, but it just feels so generic. Even if Sadako 3D, the first one, was generic, at least that had some like cool moments in it. This one I just can't find anything at all of value in, to be quite honest. Eventually they find out that Acne is still alive. She's been in a coma. She's got super long hair now, and they think that Sadako's still inside of her maybe, and if the girl visits her, then Sadako will be reborn somehow. But that is like a large part of the plot that in the last 5 seconds they're like, nah, actually none of that had to do with anything. There's a separate little girl that is the Sadako kid. And we're going to show you that in the last 5 seconds, so this entire thing that you watch doesn't fucking matter at all. So that's cool. Glad they went that route instead of just making the fucking pale baby Sadako, you know? Gives a shit. Who gives a shit, man? But he just did a meow. I don't know if you heard it. I don't know if you caught that on. Oh, he's doing something. You can kind of see him. You can kind of see him in the video. Here, why don't I take off this poster and then you can really see him. Boop, there's the poster. Oh, there he is. Oh, he's got his little tongue out. That's so cute.
Oh, that's so cute. Well, we're just talking about my cat now and not Sadako 2, 3D2. Sadako 3D2. Man, I can't believe I watched like 9 of these fucking movies. And it sure does feel repetitive and boring and waste of time at this point. However, I do it for you so you don't have to. Sadako 3D2 is getting the legendary half star, everybody. The legendary half star. I can't talk about this movie anymore. 3 minutes was too much.
Why don't you play us something, baby? Why don't you play us something? Why don't you play us something, baby?
Start? I don't feel so good.